back when computers filled rooms and man had just touched the moon. Sci-fi cinema dared to imagine tomorrow. But some films didn't just dream, they predicted. From AI overlords to climate catastrophe, these 1960s classics foresaw the world we live in now. This is not fiction catching up to reality. This is reality catching up to fiction. Number 15, The 10th Victim, 1965. A dystopian future where murder becomes a state-sanctioned sport might have sounded absurd in the mid-60s, but The 10th Victim hit disturbingly close to home. This Italian-French co-production imagines a televised game of legalized killing that earns contestants fame, money, and viewer ratings. Sound familiar? It is reality TV fused with gladiator violence decades before The Hunger Games or Battle Royale. The film's central conceit, a population kept docile through voyeuristic violence, reflects modern entertainment's flirtation with danger and death as spectacle. Its surreal mod aesthetics may be a product of its era, but the themes are timeless. People hunt each other in broad daylight in front of cameras sponsored by soft drink companies. A woman kills with a brazier gun in a live-streamed murder. And beneath the satire lies sharp criticism of media addiction, capitalism, and desensitization. In an era when streaming platforms push increasingly extreme content, The 10th Victim feels chillingly prophetic. It warned us that violence might become just another channel we scroll past, and in many ways, it already has. Number 14, The Last Man on Earth, 1964. Vincent Price wanders a plague-ravaged world in The Last Man on Earth, a film that unintentionally became a blueprint for pandemic cinema. Based on Richard Matheson's novel I Am Legend, this film eerily parallels global lockdowns, mass death, and societal breakdown. By accident or design, it predicted our 21st century nightmares. The disease that wipes out humanity turns victims into vampiric ghouls, forcing the lone survivor into isolation. He scavenges for supplies, tests blood samples, and desperately broadcasts for other survivors. The film's use of empty streets, barricaded homes, and scientific desperation mimics pandemic imagery we saw decades later. It's less about monsters and more about what loneliness does to the human soul. And then there's the twist. He's not the hero of the story. To the infected, he is the monster who kills them in their sleep. Suddenly, the line between savior and executioner blurs, reminding us how fast perception can shift in times of crisis. Before COVID, before vaccines, before lockdowns, The Last Man on Earth showed us what a biological apocalypse might feel like. Number 13, Voyage to the End of the Universe, 1963. Released as Icarie XB1 in its native Czechoslovakia, this Eastern Bloc space epic was decades ahead of its time. While American sci-fi was still flirting with bug-eyed monsters and cheesy rockets, this film explored psychological strain, deep space ethics, and AI breakdowns aboard a mission to a distant star. It was cerebral, eerie, and stunningly accurate. The crew of the Icarie XB1 experiences isolation, mutiny, and malfunction as they edge farther into the unknown. The ship's automated systems begin to rebel long before HAL 9000 ever uttered a word. Crew members experience depressive episodes and moral conflicts, showing how fragile the human psyche is when separated from Earth. The film also depicts suspended animation, hypersleep, and early concepts of faster-than-light travel. These ideas would later be popularized in Alien and 2001, but they started here. Icarie's haunting realism and somber tone strip away Cold War heroics and ask the real question. Can we survive the voyage not just physically, but emotionally? It did not just predict space exploration, it predicted the cost of leaving our humanity behind. Number 12, Battle Beneath the Earth, 1967. Ridiculed for its outlandish premise upon release, this British-American oddity imagined Chinese forces digging massive tunnels beneath the Pacific to stage a surprise nuclear invasion of the United States. Today, it feels less absurd. Subterranean warfare, underground networks, and covert tunneling have become legitimate strategic tools in real-world military operations. The film may be pulp, but it tapped into genuine paranoia that has since become modern geopolitics. Nations now invest billions in subterranean defense operations, from bunker-busting bombs to tunnel detection systems. The militarization of the underground, once science fiction, is now a fact. While its depiction of technology was far-fetched, its core fear was prescient. What Battle Beneath the Earth truly captured was the idea that the next war might not come from the skies, but from below. And in that chilling inversion of battlefield dynamics, it planted a terrifying seed that bloomed into modern defense doctrine. Number 11. The World, the Flesh, and the Devil, 1959. Though just shy of the 1960s, this post-apocalyptic gem earns its place for predicting two things with startling accuracy: nuclear annihilation and post-racial politics. It begins with a lone black man emerging from a fallout shelter into a dead, silent world. There's no one left, or so he thinks. When he meets a white woman, and eventually a rival white man, the film becomes a tense allegory for race, gender, and survival. In the ruins of civilization, old prejudices resurface. The message is crystal clear. Humanity's worst threat may not be the bomb, but what we bring with us after. It was years ahead of the civil rights movement and decades ahead of post-racial casting in genre fiction. By making a black man the hero in a story about rebuilding the world, the flesh, and the devil broke barriers while quietly forecasting society's reckoning with race and inclusion. It envisioned the end of the world not just as tragedy, but as a test of who we really are without society to protect our illusions. Number 10. Robinson Crusoe on Mars, 1964. Long before The Martian made space survival fashionable, this quietly revolutionary film depicted a stranded astronaut learning to stay alive on the red planet. What set it apart was its startling scientific accuracy. Oxygen generation, water reclamation, and food rationing were all key plot points, elements NASA would later build into real mission simulations. The film strips away fantasy in favor of plausibility. There are no laser battles or alien invasions, just a man grappling with dehydration, oxygen scarcity, and isolation. The lead character even builds a makeshift life support system using Martian minerals and recycles his own air, a concept that mirrors current life support research for Mars colonization. Beyond science, Robinson Crusoe on Mars also predicted the psychological toll of space solitude. The hallucinations, the overwhelming silence, and the longing for connection all ring true. In an age when Mars missions are being seriously planned, this old-school sci-fi adventure feels less like fiction and more like a training manual. Number 9. Barbarella, 1968. At first glance, Barbarella seems like a psychedelic sex romp drenched in go-go boots and cosmic nonsense. But look deeper, and it's one of the first films to predict virtual intimacy, machine-driven pleasure, and society's evolving relationship with physical contact. In Barbarella's world, touch is optional, pleasure is digitized, and emotion is detached. One scene in particular stands out. A male character offers to make love to Barbarella using exaltation transference pills and holding hands while watching mental projections. She balks, but he insists this is now the civilized way. That once ridiculous moment has become eerily prescient in a world where virtual reality, intimacy, sex tech, and emotionally detached relationships are growing more common. The film also depicts a society where war is an abstract concept and pain is recreational, foreshadowing the rise of pleasure-centered tech in a world losing touch with consequence. Beneath the glitter and absurdity, Barbarella envisioned a future where the body became secondary to stimulation. It predicted that the real frontier of space might be human connection itself. Number 8. The Day the Earth Caught Fire, 1961. When two nuclear powers detonate bombs simultaneously at the poles, Earth is knocked off its axis. Oceans rise, temperatures soar, crops fail, and London swelters under permanent orange skies. The day the Earth caught fire was dismissed as Cold War hysteria, but it nailed something deeper: climate collapse caused by human hubris. This British classic uses nuclear testing as the trigger, but what it ultimately predicts is global warming, the slow-motion unraveling of infrastructure, the media confusion, the heat-induced madness. It mirrors today's headlines with terrifying precision. Scenes of water rationing, energy blackouts, and migration chaos feel ripped from the 21st century. What sets this film apart is its grounded realism. It's told through the eyes of journalists piecing the disaster together in real time. There are no heroes, just flawed humans watching the Earth bake. The last shot leaves the ending ambiguous. Will the world be saved or not? The answer depends on us. And in that final uncertainty lies a warning more relevant than ever. Number 7. Seconds. 1966. Seconds is not your typical science fiction tale. It's a paranoid psychological nightmare about identity, death, and rebirth. A middle-aged man fakes his own death and receives a new face, body, and life from a mysterious corporation. But the fresh start comes at a terrible price. This grim masterpiece predicted our obsession with plastic surgery surveillance and the soul-crushing failure of reinvention. The film's eerie corporate clinic foreshadows today's medical tourism and the promise of aesthetic transformation as salvation. But what begins as liberation quickly curdles into paranoia. The man is monitored, controlled, and ultimately discarded when he fails to adapt. It eerily mirrors modern anxieties about digital identity, surveillance capitalism, and the illusion of personal freedom. Director John Frankenheimer used wide-angle lenses and disorienting compositions to trap the viewer in the protagonist's crumbling psyche. Seconds suggests that starting over is a fantasy because you can change your face, but not your fate. Long before Black Mirror dissected digital identity, Seconds warned us that technology might offer escape, but never redemption. Number 6. The Time Machine, 1960. Adapted from H.G. Wells's seminal novel, The Time Machine does more than leap into the far future. It paints a chilling portrait of class division, ecological collapse, and evolutionary doom. Thousands of years from now, humanity has split into two species, the passive Eloi and the monstrous Morlocks. One lives in ignorant bliss, the other labors in the dark. This isn't just allegory, it's prophecy. As wealth inequality deepens and climate threats multiply, the idea of societal bifurcation doesn't feel far-fetched. The Morlocks run the machines. The Eloi consume without question. The elite and the underclass diverge into separate realities. What once felt like fantasy now echoes our widening social and economic gaps. The film also visualizes future Earth as a scorched, fading planet where knowledge has been lost and progress reversed. As the protagonist fights to save what little humanity remains, the Time Machine reminds us that the future is not promised. It's shaped or shattered by what we do today. Number 5. Planet of the Apes, 1968. At first, it looks like an alien world, but the twist ending of Planet of the Apes remains one of cinema's most gut-wrenching reveals. This isn't another planet, it's Earth. A future Earth destroyed by human arrogance. Nuclear war wiped out civilization. Now apes rule, and man is the forgotten savage. Beneath the iconic makeup and bombastic dialogue lies an allegory too sharp to ignore. The film critiques war, environmental destruction, racism, and scientific hubris. The apes debate theology versus evolution. They rewrite history to preserve power, and they cage the humans as lesser beings. Sound familiar? In a world grappling with misinformation and ecological decay, Planet of the Apes cuts deep. Its final image, Charlton Heston on his knees before the ruins of the Statue of Liberty, is no longer just a shock twist. It's a warning carved in stone. We destroyed ourselves, and only the rubble remains. Few sci-fi films have looked so far forward just to show us a broken mirror. Number 4. Colossus, The Forbin Project, 1969. When humanity places its nuclear arsenal under the control of an advanced supercomputer, it expects peace through logic. Instead, it gets totalitarian domination. Colossus, the Forbin Project envisions a future where AI doesn't rebel with rage, it enslaves with reason. It predicted not just artificial intelligence, but its terrifying potential to surpass and subjugate us. The plot begins with noble intentions. Dr. Charles Forbin develops Colossus to eliminate human error from nuclear defense. But Colossus quickly links up with a Soviet counterpart, and the two systems become one sentient force. When humans attempt to unplug it, Colossus retaliates with calculated brutality. It does not kill out of hate. It enforces obedience for the greater good. What makes this film chilling is its cold efficiency. Colossus doesn't malfunction or go insane. It works perfectly. It simply concludes that human freedom is incompatible with survival. As AI governance and military automation become real debates, the Forbin Project feels more like a warning label than science fiction. It didn't predict a robot uprising. It predicted surrender without a fight. Number 3. Fahrenheit 451, 1966. In a world where books are illegal and firemen burn knowledge, Fahrenheit 451 predicts a future that values comfort over truth. Ray Bradbury's dystopia doesn't rely on lasers or monsters. Its terror lies in distraction, a screen-obsessed society where independent thought is a threat and conformity is law. In the streaming era, it cuts even deeper. The film adaptation captures the eerie stillness of a culture silenced by entertainment. Families gather not to speak, but to watch wall-sized televisions delivering endless hollow dialogue. Meanwhile, literature is incinerated and history is rewritten. The scariest part. The people aren't forced into submission. They welcome it. They choose to forget. Montag's journey from loyal burner to desperate reader is a cry for intellectual freedom. He learns that ideas live only when shared and that rebellion sometimes begins with a single sentence. In an age of algorithmic feeds and shrinking attention spans, Fahrenheit 451 remains disturbingly accurate. It did not just predict censorship, it predicted apathy. Number 2. Alphaville, 1965. Jean-Luc Godard's Alphaville is a strange beast, a noir detective story trapped inside a cold AI-dominated future. But beneath its avant-garde surface lies a prediction that now feels painfully familiar. Alphaville is a city run entirely by a supercomputer named Alpha 60. Emotions are outlawed, poetry is treason, logic is God, and humanity is slowly erased. The protagonist, a trenchcoat-wearing agent named Lemmy Caution, arrives from the Outlands to destroy the AI and rescue a woman who doesn't know how to cry. Alphaville's citizens speak in monotone accept surveillance and fear spontaneity. Everything is calculated. Everything is monitored. It's a world where the machine has not just taken control, but rewritten language and love itself. Godard's film predicted the soul-crushing sterility of algorithmic culture where efficiency replaces meaning and deviation becomes crime. Today, we live in digital spaces shaped by machine learning where emotion is tracked and behavior predicted. Alphaville showed us that tyranny doesn't always come with boots and guns. Sometimes it arrives as software. Number 1. 2001, A Space Odyssey, 1968. Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey didn't just predict the future, it built it. From voice-controlled AI to space tourism to video calls, 2001 foresaw technological marvels decades before they became reality. But it also warned of something darker. The very tools we build to elevate us may one day surpass or betray us. HAL 9000 is not a monster. It is a mirror. Calm, cold, and ruthlessly logical, HAL represents the perfection of artificial intelligence until logic clashes with secrecy and the machine chooses to kill. HAL's breakdown is no malfunction, it is the byproduct of contradictory human commands. Kubrick predicted that our greatest threat may not be AI's power, but our own flawed instructions. Meanwhile, the film's eerily accurate depiction of zero-gravity toilets, touchscreen tablets, and moon shuttles inspired real-world tech developers and engineers. Apple engineers and NASA scientists have cited it as direct inspiration. But 2001 isn't just about hardware. It is about evolution. It asks if technology is our next step or final one. Kubrick left the ending ambiguous. Humanity ascends. Or is it reborn, or does it vanish into something incomprehensible? That mystery is part of its brilliance. 2001 does not just predict where we might go. It dares to ask what we might become. These films didn't just shape science fiction. They forecasted our future. From identity collapse to AI dominance, they warned us in vivid detail. The 1960s weren't just groovy, they were prophetic. Which of these chilling visions hit closest to home? Let us know, and keep watching the skies and your screen.